two smaller stuff or swoops. That doesn't matter, but like not like the exercise. That's a whole other thing. I think the exercise. So I've started my a whole separate list for like exercise apps and that sort of thing. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Swoops is a good one. I definitely had some others that I can't think of off the top of my head that I was looking at, but should be interesting.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. What was it? I made like a little list. What was it? I didn't make the biggest list yet. Giving it some time, you know. Been
Yeah,
just
yeah. I
reading.
started watching some videos and stuff, and like just to get my mind around everything. And
Yes, yeah, I still got to do that portion of things. But I did like
yeah,
swoops, top shots, obviously, the UFC
hmm
NFTs that they had launched,
yeah.
Data TV and their NFTs, which are not. It's like the one. I think it's called one, which is like the. I don't want to. I'll call it like an Asian version of like UFC.
Oh, one, that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. Yeah,
Okay, cool. I was like,
one championship.
I don't want to
Okay, I'm
like
like
pinch your
one. He
country, and I don't
means
know what
because
country it
he. Yeah,
is.
okay. Okay, so one has a project on Theta TV.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, is that the same thing as like the UFC and the Top Shot style, like where it's
Mm-hmm.
action shots of the? Okay,
Yep.
very cool.
Yeah, so they got
Yeah.
those. Those are the first ones that I saw
Okay.
before the UFC ones, actually, that they'd had them.
Right.
The
Oh,
so
okay.
so rare community gaming, which is more of the esports side of things, and then there was something using the Kentucky Derby recently that I need to find the specific article, but they were basically making like a peg axie type of thing of a Kentucky Derby, which is just sports gambling or whatever. But I'm like, incorporating Kentucky Derby.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's yeah. I think there'll be a lot of use cases for that. We've seen that. We could do a whole separate show just on sports gambling
Yeah.
uh, on Web3 because that's going to be huge. Any of those industries where the middleman takes a huge chunk of anything is like, yeah, people are going to be very keen to get rid of that middleman. And
Yeah.
this is the perfect situation there. All right. Well, um, dude, I promoted the hell out of this and got people saying they were interested, and then of course no one pops in, but that's okay. Um, that's the way it goes. Uh, I think once we do them regular, that might be better. Someone said today that it was pretty dead on Twitter. I didn't see a lot going on that. What else do you got on your radar this morning?
On the radar, oh, I like putting like a nice little list of different interesting articles that I found down. I was like, oh, we
All
can
right.
talk about these because there
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just so many fun things. Oh my god, I'm like looking at this list. It's actually extremely long. It was like my nightly article read,
Okay.
and I just
You
started
do a
reading.
nightly one?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I like usually read at night and in the morning. I like in the morning I like listen and read. So sometimes
Gotcha.
one of them takes more focus. But yeah,
Hmm.
the first one at the top, and this is like in the reverse order that I found them in. Then, but it's like Splinterlands game switches to SPS decentralized node mechanisms. So I found that to be interesting due to their their partnership with Warner a month or so ago. Also, the SBS token just being like a little bit under the radar, Splinterlands being under the radar. And when I was looking up other, what do I want to call that, other information around Splinterlands,
Hmm.
um, it's what is it? They just recently hit a milestone for. They hit recently hit a milestone for it being like oh, the most like
Users or
their most their most daily active users on Splinterlands.
ah.
And yeah, one of the reasons why Splinterlands is so popular, like it's obviously it's one of the few blockchain gaming games like that that's also play to earn, and it's mobile. Like a lot of the other ones are struggling to figure out mobile, or they have mobile, but it's
Yeah.
not that fun. It's like Castle Crashers type fun or something like that, which is okay for some people. Whatever. There's like I guess that one's actually fairly popular. So that's when you bring that one up as an example. Like Castle Crasher people are like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
Um, but most of them are struggling. They're struggling to like to meet ends meet, and I feel like a lot of that reason is because kind of like the Axie Infinity like paradigm, I'll call it, which is where
Okay.
it's a fine game. I find Gods Unchained to be that much more fun and strategic than Axie sometimes, um, but it's a fine game. But it was like costly barrier of entry, which a lot of NFT projects are, and then after
Hmm.
that costly barrier of entry, like the earnings potential is like you really got to grind for those earnings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like if you got to grind for those earnings like that, then like what are the chances that Western people, United States, Canada, Europe, stuff like that, really want to like grind for that? Most of the time they don't, and so they make scholarship programs and stuff.
Right.
But most of those people in the scholarship programs, want to use their mobile device. And I think Splinterlands like meets all that in the middle and like actually has it worked out, but for good reason. I like stop at this, but like because they've been around the longest. Like, we consider like all these other games and stuff like that. I'm like, Splinterlands is the oldest blockchain game. Like, other than like, what was it, like CryptoKitties, which is not really a game. It was like CryptoKitties and then Splinterlands. Like, those are the two biggest ones on my radar early on before everybody else jumped into blockchain and NFTs and stuff like that. CryptoKitties and then Splinterlands were like it. And Splinterlands came from the Hive/Steema community, and like that was the first NFTs that I bought because I was not about to buy some kitties that just like I bred. And we're going crazy and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, but this trading card game that they're going to continue to develop with, that I know these developers in the Steam community that are really nice people that will help you, let's buy their shit. So, not surprised.
Yeah, I remember when we first heard about that, because we were both in that community, and I had no idea. I came over for, like, the social media, social token aspect of it. And then all of a sudden you're seeing like this game. What? It's a game, and you're owning the assets, and it was also new. But that was way back then. So that's what I tell people. That's how I partially got this job. Part of it was saying, hey, I've been playing NFT games since 2018, before people were talking about it, before the hashtag. So yeah, that's huge. Splinterlands. So what is it exactly? How? Dig down a little more technical if you can about like what is going to change with the token. Then how does that affect me, the player?
Yeah, so let's just read through. As per the latest statement, Splinterlands teams plans to fully decentralized node structure, dubbed Splinterlands. And so I think part of this is kind of like what Axie had an issue with, where like Axie's also trying to go like fully decentralized or trustless now, in some senses where they weren't before. And I'm sure some of that's like mitigate like hack potential and stuff like that. People having to get access to a wallet, it's like kind of open, but to continue reading, and that's just like a little speculation with that. But I think that's probably why. But to continue reading, the upcoming system will leverage delegated proof of stake consensus. So yeah, again, similar there. They just want to go totally decentralized with the nodes and stuff that are running the game. Splinterland node validator software is 100% open source and distributed for free, while the node license will be available for SPS holders on a paid basis. Initially, the new software will be released as a Docker container. Tech-savvy users will be able to install it on Linux-powered machines. Releases to Windows, Macs, and Mac OS will follow soon. Though the DPoS model Splinterlands mechanism will allow SPS holders to vote for accounts running validator nodes to elect network participants responsible for validating SPS transactions and holding control over SPS Foundation funds. Agroid, we know him, CEO of Splinterlands, highlights that the upgrade is crucial, one of the further decentralizations of the project and its community. So yeah, they're just going, decentralized as much as possible. Once you start running validator nodes and stuff like that, it just takes it out of the hands of, they've been running, their own servers, and that's just it. They're not running their own servers and stuff like that, making it harder for the project to fall. Especially, I'm sure they need some of that power and stuff like that, considering the, a Warner Bros. Partnership. I just can't say that. I like with Warner Music, but like Warner, it's a Warner partnership, and it's like, dude, it's huge. Who knows
what they're building behind the scenes right now?
And I'm sure it's partly because they've been around the longest. They are the longest NFT play to earn game. Like, whether people want to admit that or not, other people want to try to say their stuff, but like they've been around so long. They're mobile. They've figured out everything else that other blockchains or blockchain games haven't. They're cross blockchain. They're on Wax. They're on Hive. They're on like Binance Smart Chain. You can use all these different blockchains to connect to them. It's ridiculous. So yeah, just the next step for them. Yeah, it's really huge. Yeah, I'm never selling my SPS tokens. They're still staked. I need to usually I roll
my eyes whenever I see another card game. I'm like, this again.
Yeah, no.
You play God's Unchained a lot. So what are the differences between the game? What do you like better about one or the other?
Yeah, so I'm like, right now for me the card games are set. Like, it would be like, if I wanted to play Splinterlands, I could play Splinterlands. But there's Splinterlands, there's Axie, there's God's Unchained. It's like all card games, and then another one coming down the pipeline soon is gonna be Block Duelers, it's a blockchain brawlers, because they're tapping the Magic the Gathering. A Magic the Gathering person to help.
Even Street Fighter's doing it though. Like, it's kind of like the low-hanging fruit at some point. Like, Street Fighter, instead of implementing it into the actual game, are releasing this little side card game that's NFT powered, right? So they're like, this is easy to throw together.
So yeah, there's been a lot of ones to try it, but like again, this is what makes Gods and Chains stand out to me because like I prefer it over Axie Infinity, I prefer it over Splinterlands. I just haven't found another card game that I like as much as it. And it's the simplicity of the game. So it's simple enough to understand and get like there's tons of different elements to it that make it strategic. So I like strategic games. I prefer chess versus checkers, and but so there's a simplicity to it, but then there's enough elements to it to make it competitive. And then beyond that, it's really down to those elements. And also like I guess it's the lack of automation to it because that was like an issue with me with Axie Infinity very early on, where Axie started off. A lot of people have no idea about that, but they started off as like an auto roller game. Like you pick your Axies or whatever, and you go up against the daily quest, which aren't even people yet, and you just your Axies just do their thing. You don't really do anything else. It's kind of like Crabata right now. If anybody's familiar with Crabata. Where it's very auto. And Splinterlands kind of has some of that to it. Like you pick out your cards that you want to compete against somebody with, but they've yet to go on to that next portion and I think they'll get there eventually, but they've yet to go on to that next portion where this is my card, this is your card, and I want my card to attack this specific one of your cards, and like that allows for some human error, obviously, or some different type of strategy or whatnot. But currently, Splinterlands is under too much of an automated rule type of system, and that just does not attract me as much. It didn't attract me with Axie. That's why I was late to the Axie party. And like sometimes you get burned from that because like I still got my Splinterland cards, and I got like Genesis cards and Splinterlands and stuff. So like I'm cool with that. I'll keep those. I'll keep my tokens, but it's not enough to like really push me over to it. Versus a Gods and Chain game where all of that is each individual card. You lay out turn by turn and decide what you want to do strategically with it, how you want to approach the game, which is just a step above all the auto rolling stuff. Like those are fine for initial steps, but I just want more from my game.
Interesting, yeah, love it. Very cool breakdown, thank you. And welcome to Will, CEO, hopping in. Will, this is Smurf from Money Maps Gaming, our Web3 Throwdown co-host that's been working with us for a while on those vids. So I don't know if you guys have ever actually met up here on social. So welcome, Will. Thanks for hanging out and popping in.
Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me. Hey, bro. Yeah. Nice to meet you guys. Well, nice to meet you. I know everyone else here. Web3 Throwdown. I didn't know you were hosting that. I honestly haven't listened to a single Web3 Throwdown, which I really want to because it sounds really cool, to be honest. But just
we'd love to get you on one, right? If we can like reschedule it for a little earlier or later, it's multi people, right? We're starting to have on extra. Last time we set up for 3. Say we could have as many as 4 guests on there eventually. So yeah, we're definitely keen on at least doing like a special ep with you or something.
Oh, dude, I think you guys are gonna kill it with Web3 Throwdown. I think it'll build and build and build and build. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, how was your night been? Any extra alpha or anything cool? Any important meetings? How's your night been going?
I went to the city with Dalen and Will, and we went to the venue. Did a bit of a walkthrough with the videographer. Had a chat to a bit of a marketing guru over there, and yeah, it was a good catch up. Then had some burgers. Then we walked over to the Fortress, nice. In Melbourne. They've got this. That's the event. That's the venue we're holding our next event at. And I'd never been there before, and we all went for a walk through, and it was just absolutely. It was beyond what we had expected. Like the capacity of this venue is well over 1,000. I'm not sure if you could squeeze 2 in there, 2,000 maybe, but it's 2 levels. The top level's the Alienware Arena and a bar, and it's friggin' huge. And then the level below is like this massive old school tavern with like giant Warcraft orc heads on the wall and pixel fireplaces. Like this place is amazing and gigantic. And like the booths all along the walls around the edge, these big circular couch booths have big LED TVs and consoles so you can game, and it's just like an old school tavern but with gaming everywhere. And then next to that is this big esports room which looks fucking sick. And I think it must have like, oh, what would be fucking 5, maybe 60 gaming, like Alienware gaming PCs in there.
Jeez.
And then another hall where they can expand the tavern again, and then in like an old school arcade area. And it is unbelievable. I cannot overstate how amazing this venue is.
Jeez,
and
dude.
we're going to
That's
have the whole thing, and it's going to be insane.
Right.
Any idea when that next event will be, that bigger event? I mean, because we're kind of doing one now, and this is a warm-up, ironing out all the kinks. So when will that second bigger one be?
Probably 8 weeks from now.
Okay, so I have time to get my passport.
You've got time to get your passport, bro. You do not want to miss this, I don't think. Like, this
It
event
doesn't sound like it.
It's going to be spectacular. Like, we're going to pull out all the stops. Look, anyone who sees it wants to be involved, no doubt. Like, I haven't really shown anyone yet. I showed I took a couple videos of the walkthrough of me walking through with Dalen and that.
Yeah.
I showed a Swiss Borg, and they're gonna. I shouldn't say this stuff yet, but they've got a cool guild emerging called X-Borg, and they were like, we need to get we need to be involved. Can we get involved with that? And like anyone who sees this venue in Web3 is going to be like, how can we get involved? And they know it's good. Like, we know it's going to sell out. Like, very easily going to sell out. You know, the last NFT event we went to in Melbourne a few weeks back, Wednesday night at a big club called Billboards, was packed. It sold out, and it was a good event. Had a few speakers. That was it. Just, a dozen speakers. That was it. And there was like 1,000 people there. Like, that crowd were the ones that in like a matter of hours took most of the tickets to the event we have coming up just now, before we'd even advertised it. So we'll probably team up with the crew that ran that for our massive event, and 2,000 will sell out a week. It'll be gone. Like, this event will not last, and all the biggest players will want to be there, and we'll bring a production team in and do a broadcast. The venue, like, next to the esports thing, just next to the tavern space, and then there's that like esports area. There's these studio booths that you can like hire for streaming, like with the most pimped out equipment in them. So we'll occupy them with the broadcast crew and manage this massive event with tournaments and this and that, and all this stuff going on, and like make it the most incredible thing. Fucking with like the space, the best Web3 event yet.
Nice. Sounds awesome, man. Yeah. Well, we've just been hanging out here. Usually Smurf brings some stories, so we're talking about Splinterlands, kind of shifting their structure a little bit. And what else? So that is kind of interesting. Splinterlands is very cool. Like, talking about how it's been if not, well, we said CryptoKitties maybe a little bit older, Smurf, but one of the oldest NFT games around, so it's really valuable to take a look at what they've done and where they're going, and kind of use that in our journey, right? So.
Right. Yeah. It's like, but I think it's just, if you're in the crypto gaming space and you're not, paying some attention to what they've done in the past or what they do, then I'm like, questioning who you're learning from to some degree, because I'm like, they're like the earliest to like do all the things. I didn't see anybody else really doing packs before them. I didn't see anybody else connect to all these different blockchains before them. And nobody has the daily average users on mobile and PC that they do. So it's like, it's probably the project you want to look at.
Yeah, their mobile solid. That mobile app is solid. I played. There's only one other mobile I've played, and that was Feet and Arena. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I'm like, Dayton has a decent mobile now too. But
it's all right, yeah.
Like, that's like how many years after Splinterlands launched? Like 4? Like
True.
3?
Well, it's a tougher to pull off though, in their defense.
Yeah. I mean, it just takes time, and that's where I'm expecting like a lot of Web3 gaming to do, is just take time, because like, what was it, like everything started to like launch truly in like 2021, maybe late 2020, once people. Once there was the whole phase of, these are NFTs, and then people finally started to get the idea of it, and we see like a lot of games kind of like coming out in 2021, and I was saying to our community then, they're like, what do you think there's gonna be like really good games? I'm like, there's a few good games now if you want to pay attention. There's like, again, Gods Unchained is one, but then there's like also forgetting the name of it now. on the Wax blockchain. It's a battle arena with different like god type creatures. It's a really good battle arena.
Nothing comes to
It's
mind
like
right
really
now, but
polished.
yeah.
I'm like, what is it? It's got gods. It's something with gods. I've got the token and I'm still staking it. So
That's all that matters, man.
yeah,
That's the whole point, right? You can come and enjoy it and then forget it, but you still got something,
yeah.
something
I
there.
can vision it. I play the ad sometimes during our events just to get the name out there.
Right.
But the point of it was just that it's going to take a while for all these games to truly develop. Like even that game is still developing. Fight Legends still developing. It's the games that but you want to get that product out there to some degree. Like we mentioned with Splinterlands, they came out and it was an auto roller, which was not the funnest thing in the world. But then they take that time and they continue to build. And it's the people that continue to build and don't just rug. That see the most success, because like I feel like rugging is like like when you ask the person, would you rather have $100 right now or $1 a day for the rest of your life, and it's like short-sighted person's gonna say $100 right now.
Yep.
But yeah, it takes years, and I figured it was gonna be like, I told our community it's gonna be like 2 or 3 years before we see a lot of these games that like are the way that you want them to be, and they still won't be perfect. Then it'll be another 1 or 2 years after that, and then we'll see like all the AAA companies start to come in, and we've already seen that acquisition. Like Ubisoft is pretty big in the game. Now they're looking at being bought out by somebody. The people that make Need for Speed, and Grid recently got bought out. That studio just got bought out by Animoca Brands. So Animoca Brands has been making a lot of different Web3 games, and so they've moved in on the space, and there is a new Need for Speed already planned like a while ago. So I'm like, that might have NFTs in it, shoot. But yeah, getting crazy.
All right, man. Well, what else you got on the radar from your morning news here?
So much. I feel like a fun one is to keep it somewhat gaming related, NFT related, is ApeCoin. So I know we had an ApeCoin talk before. I've recently purchased my first ApeCoins.
Ooh,
I did not sell any Bitcoin to purchase my ApeCoin. So I'm sticking to that logic. I'm like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I could. I'm sure you could get a lot of ApeCoin for some Bitcoin, but at the same time, I'd rather hope that. Rarely selling Bitcoin, but
I've considered it.
You said what?
So I've considered it, because I'm dollar cost averaging right now. But yeah, I haven't, only from the majors that I've always gone to. I haven't gone out to any alts. So
gotcha. Well, this is the way that I did it, because like I know like the official ApeCoins, it's an Ethereum based token, but I don't really do trading on Ethereum anymore. And so I was happy to find that BuySwap on the Binance, I made a video about this, but BuySwap on Binance Smart Chain, which often it's an exchange just like PancakeSwap. A lot of people are very familiar with PancakeSwap, and sometimes people are like, is it dead? I'm like, no, just because traders don't talk about it doesn't mean that it's dead. You just don't. Nobody talks about FTX every day, and Sam Bankman-Fried is a billionaire for what he does. They're
running ads now.
They're hosting esports events and players. They're in it thick. But nobody's talking about them all the time. But yeah, BuySwap is a great place to go for those I don't know, popular yet obscure tokens on the Binance Smart Chain. Because Binance Smart Chain is known for just random tokens being there. Like of course there's a Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB, and ADA, Cardano, all these things. Like a lot of people like to call it ADA. But things like Avox or Avalanche and Solana are a little harder to come across on Binance Smart Chain, but they actually do exist on Binance Smart Chain. And a lot of people miss that because they're looking for it on PancakeSwap, and you can find the smart contract on BSC Scan, but it's hard to find. They don't just pop open all the time when you search it in, or you get a bunch of fakes and stuff. But BuySwap actually has, I forget what the working relationship is with Binance Exchange itself, but they do have a working relationship with Binance Exchange itself. BuySwap is slightly more centralized, but so is every you can say the PancakeSwap's not somewhat centralized by them having a core team of developers and stuff like that. And it's always updating. It's not just like different open source community updates coming through. Still somewhat centralized in my opinion. But BuySwap also has that relationship with Binance Exchange, and they have a relationship with BetFury. Actual partnership with BetFury, so one of the largest gambling platforms in blockchain, where you can stake and earn Bitcoin and stuff, earn some Satoshis or whatever other tokens now. It's tons of stuff. It's how I got my Axie Infinity Land. Rolling the dice.
Nice.
But yeah, they recently got an ApeCoin over there, and so I purchased some ApeCoin. So it's like, you can get ApeCoin over here, and then you can take the contract from BuySwap and put it on PancakeSwap if you want, so that you can see it wherever, put it in your wallet. But that's just a great place to, if you're looking for the Solanas, the ApeCoins, the Avox, I would suggest going to BuySwap to find those. And I'm mentioning it because ApeCoin specifically, because not just because of its recent bull run, but because ApeCoin has actually become the largest metaverse token. Yeah, the largest metaverse token. That means it's beating out Mana, it's beating out Sand, and it's beating out AXS.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, what's the use case for it there?
For ApeCoin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So their governance token, it's the governance token for the Ape metaverse, I guess. And then also, since they are building out this metaverse, they do want it to be like the others, like Sand, like the Sandbox, like Decentraland and stuff. They want it to be like that, but the Apeverse. I don't know what the specific name of it is actually though, for that metaverse. Sure. But within that, you'll be using the ApeCoin token for transacting in that metaverse, and so all the trades and purchasing of land, etc., will be done in ApeCoin. So if you want land in the Bored Ape Yacht Club metaverse, and that already should be the most bullish thing you've ever heard in crypto right now, like considering how much these NFTs are worth, just individually the pictures. Consider that those people that own the 10,000 Bored Apes are then going to need to go out and get land. How much is this? What about if you just own the land that they have to be like? It's just like the land is probably going to be ridiculously priced. It could be an ridiculous project just from speculatory like prices. I feel like, but other than that, So governance, purchasing, and their metaverse. I forget. I think there was like one more use case that I'm forgetting, but they did come with the use cases, which is enough for me. Where I'm like, good, you thought about it.
Man, I could totally see Fight Token doing that, right? Because we've already setting up partnerships with these esports and these IRL athletic commissions and just we could definitely see ourselves getting into that side of things eventually, right? Well,
yeah, absolutely. Well,
I mean, that's a little wild.
Getting into the metaverse side of things.
Yeah, well, eventually, just like what ApeCoin's doing, essentially just bringing the utility to the token. I mean, we're already doing it through the game, but eventually we have all these plans for metaverse implementation, and people are going to be able to spin the token in that metaverse and be part of it through virtual fights and whatever other stuff we have, virtual esports tournaments and stuff like that. So definitely kind of a similar route we could end up taking.
Yeah, absolutely. Just putting assets and then in-game functionality behind the token. That's what ApeCoin are doing, right? The asset is the land, and then they will gather all that ape and they'll lock it away for a year. But the use of that mechanism is to greatly increase the value of ApeCoin, right? They're going to sell $400 million worth of land or something, but in ape. So then they'll hold that much ape, and they'll have access to those funds in a year, and hopefully they've driven their user base large enough to support them selling that to gain revenue, which is inevitable, right? $500 million sitting there. But yeah, it's a great mechanism, and they're doing it on the biggest fucking scale we've ever seen in NFTs. It's gigantic. The value is insane, and it's just they've just gone from value to value to value. They've stacked value on top of value, value creation, not value to the, they're they're not offering a service that's super valuable. They're creating value for themselves and for the holders, because it's a decentralized value economy that we're in, and so they've done that better than fucking anyone. Timing played a big part, obviously, but it's incredible to see. It'd be amazing for Filecoin to reach those kinds of levels and value levels. Obviously, it will, but it's a completely different path. No one will ever do it as easy as those guys have done it. You look no one, they don't work harder than anyone. They work smarter than anyone. They created something great that struck a nerve at the right time and captured the attention of everyone. And they could have packed up their bags and left, or they could have spent all that money building some big monstrosity, some elaborate metaverse from the start, or whatever they could have done. But bit by bit, they just did the right fucking things. And it's outstanding to see. Like, they're so fucking cool. They're just the best.
Absolutely.
It's real. It's so awesome. I love everything about what they've done. It's insane. It's like they're wizards. You know, like there's some magic going on there, and
Yeah,
it's great.
Absolutely.
yeah. You brought up an interesting point there, where you like mentioned like the them having all these tokens from the land sale, and then what they'll do with
I don't know
them.
if that's me or if you're
Will.
breaking up.
Oh, am I breaking up?
You were, but that sounds better now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was mentioning Will brought up an interesting point there, where you mentioned them gaining
Moving
all
right
those
back to it.
tokens from the land sale, and then what they'll do with those tokens in a year's time or so, once they have access to them. I'm not speaking the Bored Ape Yacht Club team. And I'm hoping, I haven't seen anything written about it thus far, but I'm really hoping that in this case there's some type of burning mechanism. And this is like me wanting to see the most value created for the community. I only own 2 of the tokens, and I'm not an ape. I don't have an ape or anything like that. But I feel like this will bring the most value to new users as they get boarded, as well as the actual ape token and NFT holders. But some burning mechanisms, as well as maybe something like on the level of I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with like Hex, which does basically like a CBD. Excuse me. A CD style of like investing on the blockchain for their token, which is just like it's locked. You lock it up for like extended periods of time. So I think the longest staking period for Hex token, and then you earn interest on your lock stake. And there's like a time weight allocation to it, or something like, or a multiplier to it. But the longest stake that they have for Hex. Oops. Whoa! It ended. That must have been an hour. What's an hour? Oh no, Sean must have stopped it. It's only been 30 minutes. I was gonna say like the longest stake for Hex is a 555 stake. Let me go check up on my buddy real quick and see dun. Oh, let me get to that in a second. Make sure you guys can't see this too clearly. Cool. Oh, there's my wake up alarm in case I ever sleep too late. Yeah, but I'm really hoping ApeCoin has some type of burning mechanism with it, where they burn a certain percentage of the tokens. It'd be also nice to see them implement some of these, like, I'll call them best practices in crypto as far as like long-term allocation of funds, and how a team gets them, where they get like a small percentage of them over a vesting period. But an interesting way to do that would be like locking them up for a long period of time, and then making some type of treasury and not just a team fund for it. And so yeah, I would love to see like a 555 staking type of situation. It doesn't have to be the same as Hex, but that puts it out a long time. I think pretty sure it's like 5 years, or what is it? What is that 555? Is that 555 days? It's a long time that people can stake Hex. 5 divided by 365. That's like 15 years. I don't know. Is that how long it is? Maybe it is. Maybe that is how long it is. But it's extremely long. But yeah, I think things like that would see the value of the token, especially if you got that much of the money coming in, and then you're earning interest on it. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. Like, wow, the things they'd be able to do and the value they'd be able to create that way. Yeah, that's what I'd love to see happen with this token. But I don't know if he plans on that being the end of this thing, or if it's going to come back up. Let me click on Fight Legends itself. Web3 rugging. Rugging. Rugger. Oh my goodness, you got rugged. Yeah, let me know when you feel good, when you got things settled. Whoa, so many notifications. Is this it? Looks weird. Can't really see the stuff that I could before. You refresh it. Let me make it smaller so I can scroll more. Nope. I can't hear anyone or see anyone per usual. Maybe it hasn't started yet. We're gonna be patient, guys. Finish up this talk with Sean. Maybe read through just the last article titles. Instantly pulled it again. Wow. Okay, so he's having trouble keeping it up. It was a thing. Don't know. Maybe I put too many. No, 555 would just only, that would only be like 2 years, and I'm pretty sure it's like a multiple. I'm gonna just call it. Sorry, bruh. That's all good. I said my piece on our stream, and then since I just have the stream up, I'm gonna go through these last like titles of things, and you guys can look up some of this information if you want. If you're so interested in finding out more about these topics that I'm gonna just list here, so I've read up on all these different topics. I was quite pleased with it, though. You brought some interesting, no problem. Solana DAOs can now bug you to vote on phone calls or with phone calls and text. And that's just like an integration of like more centralized side of things. I'm also not very surprised to see that it's Solana that's doing the more centralized things as far as integrations and stuff go, because they're very VC, venture capitalists funded, and VCs own the vast majority of the Solana token. Bitcoin on-chain activity turns green. Will price action follow? Is the title of this article. And so that just means that there's more people holding, buying up Bitcoin, all the things that you would expect to make a market turn green, and show signs of not selling as much are happening with the Bitcoin network and on-chain activity right now. So will the price actually follow that though? There's another article that I found, which I'm not going to sure if I'm going to even find it in this portion I'm looking at right now, but that was talking about the fact that there is an options expiration on this Friday, so tomorrow, that has Bitcoin priced at around $39,000. And so if you are a big time trader with millions or billions of dollars, probably just a few million, some millions in there, or whatever, that's a lot of money. You would want to make sure through whatever manipulation that you could do, 1 or 2% at a time, if you can do it, because then you'll make that much more money from making this happen. If you got some other millionaire friends, and that's great for you too. So let me just put this numbers in real quick. Times, let's see, 1%. That's $390,000 to make that happen. So if you can do that time after time again to make Bitcoin drop by a 1%, I guess that's just, is that right? I think so. No, that's just, I did this math wrong. I did 390, 100,000. I don't know what math I was doing here. Anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is, if you were a big time trader in the market and you were doing options on Bitcoin trading, so you're most likely not a crypto degen. You're most likely one of these big boy wig people or hedge investors or something like that, hedge fund investors or whatever the heck. And you want to make sure that your call on Bitcoin was correct. And by that, I mean, when you put in this options trade, you go, yeah, Bitcoin's going to be underneath this certain price by this time, and then you make more money. Or Bitcoin's going to be above this certain price by this time, and you make more money. And so they've said that Bitcoin is going to be underneath $39,000, and they want to make sure they make that money. And so that's why the bears, well, I believe probably even with the on-chain metrics saying that, and then we'll probably see a skyrocket up in the next month, or not a skyrocket up, some upward momentum. Also, how long can the USD index continue green like it is? But I'm jumping to too many different things. I think until Friday, they'll make sure, the bears will make sure that Bitcoin is pinned underneath $39,000. We will not see it break above $40,000, at least until the end of Friday. If it did happen to cross over, that would be pretty amazing. I'd be like, wow, look at that. You know what I'm saying? But I think by Friday, it's going back down. Step in governance token. I think that's a fake token. Like, no way this thing's up 790% today. That's just ridiculous. No way everybody in Steppen just made that much. It's got to be a fake token. But that's what I'm thinking with as far as that goes. What was the other factor with it? The USD index. So let me look at the USD index today. For those that don't know, the United States dollar is the strength of it is tracked by the USD index. And so back in 2020, like 2019, 2018, 2020, it's actually been years since this thing has been this strong. Like, let me go back 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ago. So we're looking at 2021. And prior to let's go back a little. Even here though, 2018, 2019, the United States dollar is not at 100% point or 100 points. Okay, it's not worth a full one United States dollar technically, or 100 cents. It's weaker than that. And at a certain point, I think it was back in 2017 or so, it was pretty weak, and we stepped up our quantitative easing and started shilling it out around the world and getting all these deals and stuff like that, and trying to force people to use the United States dollar more while doing this quantitative easing, this crazy ass printing and stuff like that. And the funny thing, it would have worked too if nothing wrong ever happened. With whatchamacallit, with the markets. That's what quantitative easing works when you look it up, is that everything will be fine as far as you printing out this money and this leveraged debt and all this crazy crap, as long as nothing catastrophic happens in the markets. But if something catastrophic does happen in the markets to shut down the supply chains and this and that, then chances are your monetary policy is going to fail. And it hasn't just happened once. This is just the work on this type of financing. That's just what's supposed to happen. And so that happened. We had 2020 occur, and sure enough, everything fell off a cliff. And since then, the Federal Reserve has been doing everything they can as far as monetary policy and money tightening to stop that. They did not stop it right away, obviously, because people were hooked on the money that they were getting. People still didn't have all their jobs. We were creating more jobs and stuff like that, but you can't just be like, we're creating more jobs, and so now we're just not going to give people back any money that they're used to and this and that. Because people, a large amount of people, I feel like the more conservative folks that had money in the bank account and they had assets and stuff that just went up during the entire course of the pandemic, we're not thinking about this for the average person. But the average person was still living paycheck to paycheck, and they might have gotten all that money and stuff like that from the pandemic things. I actually got no pandemic checks, but they might have gotten all those checks from the pandemic and stuff. And what do they do with them? They bought their food and their groceries and tried to buy their rent, and hopefully they didn't fall behind on their rent like a lot of people in the United States did. A lot of people fell behind on their rent and they didn't have to pay it, and so now they have thousands of dollars of rent to pay. So mix that in with what people weren't expecting next, which was that when you print out a whole bunch of money, that inflates the cost of your money. So technically you need more of it to pay for things eventually. You need more of that money to pay for things eventually. And so the United States dollar is tighter than ever. And then the Fed started to also increase interest rates. And so that means that they lended out a whole bunch of money to people before. The housing market was popping and stuff like that. A lot of people took out loans to get houses while the housing market is popping. Maybe I'll just flip this thing real quickly, not thinking about the tax implications and things of this sort, not thinking about the fact that they should probably want it for consistent income, but maybe I'll just flip this thing. And then they figured out they couldn't flip it as easily, our last landlords. And what do they do with this big loan that they just took out to do this property and stuff like that? Well, now, before it was negative interest rates on that loan that you took out. Now it's up a whole bunch of points. It's up half a point. It's up another quarter of a percentage. It's up 1%. 1% on $500,000. I don't have that type of money right now. I barely scrubbed it together from selling my other house. How am I gonna live? I don't have anybody. And these type of issues, and then it starts to down trickle. But that's what's happening currently in the market. Anyways, other than that type of stuff happening in the market, again, I was mentioning the USD index and it being up higher than it's been in the last. Looking at this thing, I got to go to like the all-time chart because it's higher than it's higher than like a long time. Last time we saw it at like numbers like this was like in 2002, and then it dipped all the way down for 5 years until 2008. And at 2008, it started to turn around again. And then we made our little mistake with COVID and our quantitative easing, and that's because at 2016 it started to dip, and so the market started to dip. The USD index started to dip in 2016. Why was the USD index? Oh my goodness! And then it started to go back up though in 2017, as I was saying, when we started to do stronger quantitative easing, printing out more money to pay for things, leveraging that debt. And then an issue arose, which was COVID. And then since 2021, I wonder why it suddenly changed again. Oh, I was messed up during that one period of time. During 2021, it started to go back up. And now we have it at its highest point since 2016. And the only other time before 2016 that it was as high was 2002. And, numbers don't lie. But with every market, with everything, whenever something goes up, it must also go down. And so it's just, I'm not saying this for like political reasons or something. I'm just like, pay attention to things, because yes, it's going up and it's going kind of parabolic right now. It's going really strongly up, like really, really high up. But when it goes up this high, I've noticed across these charts, it never goes up that's high for more than 1 or 2 months. So it'll go up for not 1 or 2 months, 1 or 2 years. 1 or 2 years, it'll go up that high. And so if we want to consider the March of 2021 was like kind of like another like period of like its upward growth, then maybe we get one more year of this bearish scenario, the 2022 as well. But by 2023, it's over, baby. Chances are by 2023, it's over. It's going back down at least a little bit. And what's inverse to the USD index? The stock market, cryptocurrency are typically inverse to it. So when the USD index goes up and gets stronger, cryptocurrency and stocks get weaker and they cost less. And when it reverses, when the USD index starts going down, cryptocurrency and stocks start to cost way more. They go up. They go on crazy parabolic bull runs. And so that's what I'm looking at. That's what most that's one of these, indicators that you should probably be looking at if you're like a trader or whatever the heck. And I forget what article I was just reading that made me have to bring that up. I was just reading these Bitcoin titles and on-chain activity and stuff like that. Other fun stuff, the Philippines will launch a pilot wholesale central bank digital currency project. So Philippines stepping into that CBDC. We kind of like alluded to this a little bit, like with, it's just been big for the Philippines economy and stuff like that, doing play to earn games and other things in Web3, not just play to earn games, but work and etc. Web3 has been good to them. So why not jump into more of a digital frontier? DeFi project with the most use cases on top of that list was Chainlink, and Cosmos was also in there. Just letting people know, Gala Games, endless AI to launch AI powered NFTs. So Gala Games stepping into the AI powered NFT games. MoonPay, I think MoonPay is I need to find out what their company ticker is and stocks or whatever the heck, because if that's possible to buy some MoonPay, that might be a good call. MoonPay has really been on their game as far as kind of bridging things for blockchain and play to earn sector and NFTs and all this stuff. And this article reads, MoonPay's new minting as a service tool bills itself as AWS, Amazon Web Services, for NFTs. Get what you want from that, but I think that's pretty. I don't know. If you want to get in it, don't get in it. But if you want to pay attention, you maybe want to pay attention. Seat Lab NFT. Sean and I were just talking about this on the NFTs, music NFTs stream. Seat Lab NFT launches Seat token. So look out for that token. Now, the token is now launched, which tackles the ticketing industry. I don't know how it's going to work out and stuff like that, but just to pay attention to that has happened. I haven't seen this covered anywhere, and so I had to cover it, which was that Central African Republic adopts Bitcoin as legal tender. So now it's not just El Salvador, it's also an African country. And I know it's not a Western power, but it's another country. Because guess what? El Salvador is not a Western power either. At least not typically considered. Excuse me for that burp. Maybe that was my anger toward normies. There's no actual anger toward normies. I actually feel bad for normies. Don't want to, like, you know, or just being. I don't feel like it's that they don't want to most of the time. I feel like it's that they're being so confused from like the media outlets that they pay attention to. They like, don't read as much information, or when they do, it's like Gossip Magazine or some crap. Anyways, Ledger releases new Cardano 80A update to support smart contracts functionality. Charles Hoskinson reacts. I think that's really big on Cardano because, you know, they got the whole Milko Meta Layer 2 solution that's come out recently. That's been integrated with their other wallets as well. So it's easy to go from your, probably like your Daedalus wallet or your Nami wallet or whatever over to the Milko Meta blockchain and do Cardano things over on that side. And now we're seeing Ledger integrate with it. And so that's really poising Cardano to be what it needs to be to really just take off in Web3 and DeFi and everything as an international standard. Tron, favored amongst the big traders for its high stablecoin volumes, is launching an algorithmic stablecoin. And for those who don't know about algorithmic stablecoins, usually there's money to be made in the algorithm. It's like there's always money in the banana stand, and there's always money in the algorithmic stablecoin project for as long as it's successful. But another popular algorithmic stablecoin project would be something like what am I thinking of? DAI. I feel like DAI is one. I mean, PancakeSwap has tons of them. Not PancakeSwap, Binance Smart Chain has tons of them. But a lot of those do fail. So in the meantime, there's always farming opportunities. There's liquidity providing and stuff like that. There's staking and epochs and oh my. So usually it brings a lot of money making opportunity with it. And that's what I'm most excited about with the Tron algorithmic stablecoin thing. Other than that, the algorithmic stablecoin itself does, I think it's promising something like a 20% APR, I believe, you know, which is pretty ridiculous. That's pretty high up, 20% APR. So worth paying attention to. Other than that, though, information on Tron is Tron volume sinks more than 94 billion in quarterly low. So trading volume on Tron has sunk. And they like to, you know, tout themselves as being like the highest trading volume and the most transactions and stuff like that on Tron. And here it is sinking. Why is that? Because it hasn't been in the news lately. There's not much to do on Tron other than to funnel your money around or have it sit and use actual banking mechanisms. It should get more attention for that. But the big players do know about Tron. There's some really nice APRs on Tron. If you just have solid crypto assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, Tron itself, USDT, BTT. If you have these big industry leader cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, and you know what to do with them, you probably take them over to Tron, take them over to Justlin, stake them for some nice juicy 10 to 20% APR, and be done with it because it's being deposited directly to your wallet instead of you having to push the claim button. What? Yeah, Tron is pretty damn spicy. Last thing on this list that I'm going to read at least today is China expands digital yuan trial to cover tax, social security, and toll gates. Thank you, China, for leading the way. Like, it's a shame that the United States can't get on some of this. At least test it out somewhere. Like, jeebus. But, like our tax system is doo-doo. It's absolute doo-doo. Look up. I challenge everybody who's listening to this part of the stream to actually look up the creation of the United States tax system. Go and do your research around the creation of the United States tax system. When was it created? Who created it? Look up that information and let your mind be blown about how shitty of a job it was and who it actually impacts, like on scale, and who it benefits on scale. Who it's still benefiting. Who's the top United States bank? I wonder if that's benefited them any. Look up this information. It's interesting. But it's also interesting that we have a tax system that's so messed up that like anybody who's actually wealthy in this country wants to flee the country, go to another country, or do something to circumnavigate taxes. And then we just continue to tax the poor and the middle class like, oh shit, well, since you don't know any better, we'll just tax the hell out of you. Like, is that really the way things should be? Or should you set up a tax system with digital currency, since it's now possible, since most people aren't holding cash in their hands anyways, they're holding some type of digital currency anyways. maybe you should update the tax system so that it effectively will draw out those taxes, and it's not just a clusterfuck at the end of the year where people have to stress and this and that and owe the government a bunch of money, and then you can't. It's chaos. And why do they want this chaos? It's just it baffles me that they want this chaos, that they haven't found. They really, over 100 years, you haven't found anything better. You done changed the way that you put out bread and packaging. Ketchup bottles change more than this. Good God. Like, whatever. That's it from me today. I'm going to shut this thing down, start up a fun stream of sorts. We'll probably play some Gods in Chain like we like to do. Play some Gods in Chain, maybe look into some other blockchain games and whatnot. Thanks for joining me. If you were in the spaces earlier with Fight Legends and Sean Porter, thanks for joining us over there. It's your boy MMG Smurf, and we out.